Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 208 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. It is Saturday, April 20th, 2024, and it's a gorgeous day out there. If you hear extra ambient noises in the background today, it's because I have some windows open and yeah, motorcycles are out. It's a Saturday late morning. Well, it's just shy of noon. And yeah, there's going to be noises. You're used to that by now, I suspect. So if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for joining me and popping by my channel to see what's what over here. I hope you like it. I hope you stick around. I hope you enjoy what you see here. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back for another week to see what kind of shenanigans I've been up to. I'm always so happy to have you here. Always so happy to have all of you here. If you have not yet done so, it would make me and Olive so happy if you would hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment. I love reading your comments and responding to your comments. And just, yeah, all that would just make me so happy. So, it's been a busy week. I've got a fair bit of stuff done. It's been busy. We're winding down the school year. I have 1 week of classes left, then final exams, and then I'm off for the summer. I've research stuff to work on, prep stuff for next year, that kind of stuff going on, but I don't have grading to do, and I don't have a lot of prep time that specific scheduled times when I have to be at a certain place. So, what have I been up to this week? I'll start off actually, I posted a video the other day showing you how I dyed this yarn. This is going to be for a muscle bra hat, which I am going to start a knit along with this for anyone else who wants to join in. I dyed this yarn myself. If you want to dye yarn this style yourself, watch the video, get some kind of loosey-goosey ideas for how I did this. Zero perfection involved in my style of dyeing for this. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And it was fun. But I'm going to use this yarn for making a muscle bra hat. And if anyone else wants to join along, if they want to dye their own yarn, cool. If you just want to use yarn you already have, cool. It's all good. I'm going to start this on May the 1st. So I'm not going to cast this on till the 1st of May. And I'm going to run the make along or the knit along until the end of August. So we'll have a third of the year to do it. So we'll finish by the end of August. We will have time it'll be ready in time to start wearing once it gets cooler into the fall and into the winter. So, isn't it gorgeous? I think this is my thumbnail picture. It's gorgeous. I love it. So, the other thing I did with that yarn, or with that pot of water, is I had too much dye. So I did a dip dye, and I made another skein of yarn. So this one, I'll undo it. So this one goes from, so basically I took the yarn in the hank form and I just dunked the yarn in and gradually added it in until almost all the color was gone, and then you get almost like a white at the very top where I should have loosened up the little band of yarn that's on here to help keep it from untangling. So it goes from very light to darker. And so this was on a 100-gram skein of fingering weight yarn. It was Knit Pick Stroll Bear is the yarn I have for this. And this is going, I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this. I might make a pair of socks with it and then use the rest of it for something else. I don't know. I might use, that might be an idea. I haven't decided what to do with the second. I think I might do a pair of socks with part of the skein and then do something else where I maybe do something striped and do it with like a blue and like this combination, do it with this and another color, maybe a gray, like a dark to medium gray, or I'm trying to get it back into some semblance of order here. There you go, messy little Hank. But anyways, so maybe do it in a stripe pattern with this and either gray or maybe black. Black would look good with this, I think. And maybe do a hat, or maybe just do stripe for another pair of socks. Alternating this with 2 stripes of this, 2 stripes of a contrast color. I don't think I'd want to use white. Maybe. I don't know. Any ideas, let me know down below. But I think 1 pair of socks just as is, using roughly a little over 50 grams of yarn. And then I might do 50 grams and do white toes, heels, and a little pop of color. Or I might do it and then do the same for the other one, do stripes. I don't know. We'll see. But this might end up being 2 pair of socks. Or I might change my mind completely and do this into a cowl to go with the coordinating muscle bra hat. We shall see. But those are the 2 skeins of yarn I dyed this past week. So this one, I showed you how I did it. This one, I might be able to, I have video footage of part of it, but it was hard to film it and dunk the yarn in and out of the hot water at the same time. So I might be able to make a little something out of that. A little bit of video footage to show you how I did that. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, so my knitting for the past week, I got a bunch of work done on my jelly roll cardigan, or what's going to become my jelly roll cardigan. When I saw you last, I was at the point where I just finished the lighter blue and I was ready to add in this dark blue. So I added the dark blue and then I added another complete row. So I added all of these. This was a little bit left from one of my row 1 mini colors that went into my mitered square afghan. The others are all of these except for this one are yarns I dyed myself, except for the row 1 mini bit. And I just pulled off roughly 10 grams. Some of them are closer to 11, some of them are closer to 9. But I've added an entire second row to this. And I'm doing it the way the pattern is written for the joining method. I'm not sure if I 100% love it, but it is what it is. I actually like the backside better, but by the time I decided that, I'd already started doing the joins with the garter stitch transition. I had done the smooth I want to call it a smooth transition. It just goes abruptly from one color to the next color. So I had this specified as my right side, and so I have this little seam here, and on this side, the back side where I've also tucked in my tails, I have tucked in all the tails except for these two. But I kind of like the join better on this side. But I don't want this on the right side of the sweater. So it will have the this ridge in between each stripe on the actual sweater. So, and I'm using the yarn, it's fingering weight yarn held double to make it a DK weight. And so this is the length that's going to be from like the shoulder all the way down to cover, by the time it's done, it will cover most of my bottom. So it's going to be a fairly long cardigan. I'll figure out how many strips wide I have to do across from like the center to where I want to separate for the arm, and then pick up and continue doing across the back and then across this side of the front. I am going to leave this part just so that it'll just fold over for the neckline. So I'm not going to taper it for the neckline. It's just I'm just going to let it fold over as is. So there's not going to be any major need for detailed shaping of any sort on that. And then I'll figure out how I'm doing the sleeves and all of that good stuff once we get there. So that's my progress on my jelly roll blanket into a cardigan. So, and that's a pattern by Kay Jones, if I haven't mentioned that already. Just drinking some iced tea. It's not just a cup of cold tea. It's got the fake sugar. It's a juice crystal packet added to a jug of water. So it's flavored and loaded with fake sugars. Since I saw you last, I've actually started 2 new projects. One of them is in my little dodgy project bag that I sewed for myself. And this is a pair of, probably no big surprise, two at a time toe up sort of shorty socks. Now these ones I'm not doing a bare toe heel and little pop of color at the cuff. What I am doing with these is I'm using the yarn from my Row 1 Mini subscription that I got for April. And the yarn is a little heavier than the other Row 1 Mini subscriptions I've had, and those I had been holding them double in my mitered square cardigan. And I did the first couple squares with the April yarn, and the squares are coming out just a little bit bigger, and I don't really want that I don't want to call it an inconsistency, but I don't want that effect where some of the squares they're not going to be quite the same size. So I thought, well, what I will do, I'm just going to leave the 2 squares I did in the mitered square cardigan for the time being. I don't think I'm going to take it out. So then I decided, well, I'll just take the other 8 skeins or 8 little balls of yarn I have, and I'll see how far I can get with making a pair of 2 at a time toe up sort of shorty socks. So I'm just going to start the toe with one of the colors, and I'll just go until I run out of completely till I run out of yarn on that. And so you can see where I've done the toe, and then it evens out, and this is part of the foot portion here. And then when I ran out, I switched to the second color, then the third color. So I will continue. I have my little markers here The first one is where I was done with the toe increasing, and then I'm counting every 10 rows so that I can keep track, and I know that I will actually have to try these on because they might be just a drop bigger than my regular 2 at a time toe up shorties, because the yarn is just a tiny bit heavier than the fingering weight yarn I'm used to using. So what I might do is I'll do 50 rounds on the foot, and then I will try it on and see how it fits and decide if I need to go just a drop farther before I start the gusset increasing. So with this one, normally I do the toe, then I do 55 rounds on the foot, and then I start doing the gusset increasing, and that gives me just the right length for my foot. So I do want to check this and make sure that 55 rounds might be a drop too long. So I'm going to try it at 50. So right now I'm at 10, 20, I'm at about 35, 37. Yeah, I'm at about 35, 37 rounds done now. So I will continue working on that and see where I land up with that. I also have the rest of the yarn for this, and I'll see if what I'll do is once it's time, I'll do the gusset increasing, and then once it's time to do the heel, I'll just choose one of the colors to do the heel turn and the heel flap, and then switch back to the regular increasing on the leg. So I'll see how that goes. And it'll just be kind of like in blocks of colors, like I did with one other sock that I did from the very first Row 1 mini subscription I got. So that's one new cast on. And then I also have a second new cast on. Sock Madness round 4 is underway. And I've got a tangled up mess. So the round 4 socks for Sock Madness 18 is called the Gathering Socks. So I'm looking over at my notes over here. And it's a pattern by Mary Pat McGurk. And here's what I have so far. There are all kinds of, and there's lots of needles in here. I will explain that in just a second. There are all kinds of different techniques in here, and some of them are relatively new for me. It requires the use of 3 colors: your main color, your first contrast color, which is this brown that I used for one of my earlier rounds. It was one of the yarns I dyed myself. This is I used on one of the earlier Sock Madness socks. And then the third color is this bright yellow that I dyed myself also. And that was the one I did my round 3 socks were done in that yellow. So that'll be the third accent color that's going to come in a little bit of embroidery on here. And also it's going to be incorporated, all 3 colors will be incorporated in the heel flap. So it has a folded down cuff. Those are the words I'm looking for. Oh my gosh. Surprised we got this far without stupid noises. Come on. Shut your alarm off, my friend. Thank you. Anyway, so it has a folded down cuff, and then it has this neat little garter ridge thing happening. Then it uses these welts to give it some texture. And this was a technique I had done before. It's kind of fiddly to do, and more fiddly in the round than it was flat where I'd done it before. I had seen this technique on one of the Stephen West mystery shawl knit-alongs. Can't remember if it was on Shawlography or Slipstravaganza. I think it was on Shellography. It might have been Slipstravaganza. Anyway, it was on one of the Stephen West designs from a previous year. Then there's little bits of lace and traveling stitches, lots of knit through the back loop, which those don't bother my hands or my wrists. And then it also has down the back of the sock, it has a section with this little gathered sort of ruffly sort of section with ruching. And for that you need to go down a needle size for that. For this section in here, you double the stitch count, so you go down. So I'm using a 2.25 millimeter needle for most of the sock, and then for that little section I'm using a 2 millimeter needle, or a US 0 I think it is. Did not own such an animal. I actually had to go and pop on Amazon on Thursday, and it arrived on Friday. So I couldn't get to this point until yesterday once it arrived. So you do the ruching over 5 or 8 rounds, I can't remember exactly, and then you go back to just regular using only the 2.25 needles, and then you incorporate another little ruching section. I think there's like 3 sections of the ruching down the back of the leg before you get to the heel flap. So right now I've got 2 sets of needles on here. One on this little portion and then the other needles on the other portion. It might have also worked to use double points, but I thought I'd rather order a set of I'd rather order a circular needle set or circular needle, because I'm more than likely going to use that on something else before I would use a set of US 0 double point needles. I'm not sure I would ever use those. Who knows, I might, but probably not. So I'm partway through the leg on the first one. I have to finish the leg on the first one before I can start doing the leg on the second one, because I only have one US 0 knitting needle. So I can't do anything on this one until I finish that leg. Then once you get through the heel and down to the foot, you don't need there's no more ruching. That's only down the back of the leg. So those are my round 4 Sock Madness 18 socks, and it's an interesting knit. Like I say, the ruching is different. I don't know about the heel yet, or the heel turn or heel flap yet, because I haven't got to that part and I haven't really read the instructions for that yet, because I'm not there. So it's with 3 colors. I'm not sure how that's done. I'll figure that out once I get there. I don't have to worry about it now. And what else? Only 12 people on each team will advance to round 5, so I don't know if I'll make it. I have all day today to work on it. Sunday I will have a bunch of time in the afternoon and evening. Monday I won't have any time to work on it, and Wednesday I won't have any time to work on it. So Tuesday I have all day. I can work on it all day. So we shall see if I make it through into round 5. I don't know. But the pattern came out on Wednesday late afternoon, and by the time I got home Wednesday evening, I was too tired to, I'm just like, no, I just didn't have the brain space to even try getting going with it. So I thought I let it go and got started on it on Thursday. And then I realized I needed another set of knitting needles, so I quickly ordered those, and thankfully they did arrive right away on Friday. So that worked out okay. But I suspect this next week coming up will be almost exclusively working on the Sock Madness socks. Although I probably will work a little bit on either my, where did I put it? How can I lose the chunk of knitting? There it is. I'll either work on my Jelly Roll cardigan or my 2 at a time toe-up sort of shorty socks at church on Sunday. Just because they're both mindless projects, so I can just keep my hands occupied while I'm paying attention to what's going on during the service, and like the sermon and that kind of stuff, and during Sunday school. So that's the plan. So probably we'll have a little bit to show you for those. And then Thursday and Friday we're going to be away. We are going to take a little overnight getaway, and we're going to go down to Virginia. And then we're going to drive back up all the way down, all the way along the Shoreline Drive that goes through the Shenandoah Valley. It's supposed to be gorgeous. We've never been, so we're planning on doing that. So that should be nice. But the hubby does the driving, or I do the driving. Hubby does the navigating. So I won't be doing any knitting while we're along the way. And even if he was doing the driving, I want to watch the scenery and pay attention to what we're seeing and not focus on my knitting. And the Sock Madness design is, the charts for the legs are on it's on 2 pages. So there's just a lot of stuff going on around me. So I doubt I'll get much done then. So we shall see. I hope I can make it through to round 5. But if not, I'm happy as a clam to get into round 4. So we shall see. But otherwise, I think that's about it. The school year is almost done. We have 1 week of classes left, then final exams and graduation, all that end of year stuff. On Sunday I have Sunday afternoon. Oh yeah, no, I won't get much knitting done Sunday afternoon. No, tomorrow I will. No, wait a second. I have to check my calendar if it's this Sunday or next Sunday is the awards banquet. I think it's next Sunday. I have to check that. Oh my gosh. I think it's the 27th, not the 28th, not the 20. Yeah, it's a week Sunday. I'm losing track. I got to start writing this stuff down. Anyway, on that note, before I self-destruct and completely lose track of what I have and have not talked about, I shall let you go, and I will see you guys again in a week. Alrighty, take care everyone. Bye.